this is a typical diagram which actually shows how the oil and gas is produced. These are the various steps and various processes which actually shows that how the oil actually is produced, and as well as the natural gas. So these are the end products we can see, and we can see how the process, how complex the process is, and it starts with gas injection, then gas lift, then gas production, then chemical injection, and here compression, then here is a separator, and this is test separator. Then they inject some water, and this water treatment also happens. So this is called enhanced oil recovery, and they use steam as well for chemical miscible and chemical storage. And from here the separator separates it, and this goes to oil treatment and storage. From there they put it into pipeline. From here it goes to low temperature separator and dehydration and acid gas removal. Then it condensed, and it goes to again gathering and storage. Then it is from there gathering and custody transfer, and through some vapor recovery. So this is something very technical related to engineering, but I wanted to show you guys how this how complex this process is, so that being analyst, we should know the process and the company very well. Then only you will be able to model the company. So this is a schematic diagram of the entire petrochemical industry. Now we would be talking about the environmental impact and future shortages as well, which is very important of a parameter to model this kind of a company, because these days major this oil and gas companies and utility companies etc. is coming under environment brackets, and especially US and European Union is very particular about their chemical wastages, hazardous wastages etc. and carbon emission norms. So the companies which produce petrol and oil and gas, they also produce a lot of waste, chemical waste. So these dumping these waste in a safer manner, and levying duty on that is very common these days on European countries and US countries. Because if the companies do not follow the environment compliance, even their license could be cancelled. And they also face a lot of liabilities related to their tax, related to dumping the waste etc. This is so environmental aspect is also a very big point to know before modeling these companies. And also the future shortage, which is also very important, because the revenue model of these companies are based on the availability of oil and gas. There are gas fields, from there they take out gas. There are oil fields, from there they take out oil. But when these would when that oil field would be totally taken out, extracted, then that should be properly closed. And this is another aspect. And the second thing is this, when they are closed, then what's next? Then they have to drill another hole. The revenue from that particular oil stream is over now. So there are many oil streams which have the energy IEA and EIA energy administrations. They give forecast that for till how many years you can extract oil or gas from those facilities. So before modeling, we should know that which are the gas fields and oil fields the company is operating into, and what are their future life, how long they will be able to produce gas and oil from those oil fields. This is also very important. So we will be discussing that factor now. So some petroleum industry operations have been responsible for water pollution, that I have already said, through byproducts of refining and oil spills. Oil spill is also very important. I remember there was a time long ago the oil spill happened, and a lot of creatures died. So these things, to prevent these things, these days governments are very particular and they levy a lot of duties. The industry is the largest industrial source of emission of volatile organic compounds, that is called VOC, a group of chemicals that contribute to the formation of ground level ozone gas. So you have already heard about the ozone, I believe. So these are the aspects which the government, is trying to reduce. So that is a very important point. The BPS Statistical Review of World Energy 2007 listed the reserve or production ratio for proven resources worldwide. The study placed in a ratio of proven reserves to production in Middle East is at 79.5 years, Latin America is 41.2 years, and North America at 12 years. A simplistic interpretation of the ratio has led to many false predictions, or like running out of oil since the early years of the industry of 18th. This has been especially true in the United States, where the ratio is proved reserve to production has been between 8 years to 17 years since 1920. Many have mistakenly interpreted that a result of number of years before the oil supply is exhausted. Such analysis do not take into account future reserve growth. So this is also another important aspect, because some people are saying that though this US, it is said through many researchers that after 17 years US oil fields would dry up, but still they are, and since 1920 it was said, but still they are producing oil. So we can say that this industry is still not a dead industry. So in US also there are many oil field gas fields, they are still operating. So the industry is not at a crisis level in terms of shortage. But of course, if you talk about the environmental scenario, this become very predominant these days, because the many companies, they were forced to pay a lot of duties, or forced to clean up the dump yards which they have, where they have dumped their waste and etc. And a lot of company in US and especially in Europe, they were penalized through a lot of duties. So these things we have to take into account while modeling, especially while valuing the company. Because what happens is, if you have a lot of say wastage liability, or redemption liability of this kind of hazardous chemicals, then you have to create a provision and your enterprise value reduces. So these aspects are very important while modeling any petrochemical or oil and gas company.